past couple of centuries, our understanding of science and the natural world has grown exponentially, but so too has the methodology behind how we conduct these experiments.
One method popular in medicine and increasingly popular in conservation is the randomized control trial, or RCT. But what is an RCT?
Our experiment starts with a subject group. And this includes all the individuals or sites used within the experiment. An RCT is a type of experiment that separates these subjects into two or more groups. An experimental group that receives treatment or testing, and a control group which receives no treatment and no testing.
It's important to remember that subject selection into the trial and allocation into either of the groups is completely randomized to avoid any bias.
The differences recorded between these two groups is measured, and that's how we obtain our results. Now, this kind of experiment is very well suited to lab studies, but are there applications for broader ecological studies that we could use?
Can this experimental model actually be used in real-life messy experiments that both combine ecological and social problems? In 2000, an NGO called Bolivia tried to implement one of these experiments in an effort to reduce deforestation, increase biodiversity, and increase the water quality for local peoples.
This was done by offering local cattle farmers the opportunity to enroll onto a scheme that offered financial assistance and other incentives to those who had land upstream, in exchange that these farmers would keep cattle out of the riparian forest and natural water features on their land.
A total of 128 communities participated in this study, again separated into control and experimental groups, with the promise that the control groups after the trial would receive the same assistance as the experimental group.
Despite being highly incentivized, the uptake for the watershed scheme was low. This lack of engagement ultimately meant that the scheme failed to tackle deforestation. In areas of high uptake, there was minimal reductions in deforestation, indicating payment for ecosystem services schemes may be effective in protecting forested areas. The scheme also failed to improve water quality. Levels of E. coli were still high due to poor uptake in upstream areas, which were highly influential on downstream water quality. Although watershed did not improve water quality, perhaps this was a result of the approach. If resources had been targeted at specific regions upstream, then possibly the outcome might have been different. This approach has seen success in areas such as Costa Rica, which are known to have good payment for ecosystem services schemes.
Although frustrating, this study was still useful in demonstrating to us some of the applications and restrictions of RCTs within conservation-focused research. And although they allow for evidence-based policy to be implemented, they are often unnecessarily costly and time-consuming.
To get a true insight into the mechanisms which decide the success or failure of payment for ecosystem services, enrolment must be higher. This was done in other schemes by increasing additional incentives aside from conservation. Yeah, that's done. Perfect.